and gentlemen, welcome to the official Ross Mandell YouTube channel. This is our fourth live stream, and backed by popular demand at this point because everybody's loving these prison stories.
It's allegedly.
that
I spent some time in prison.
allegedly,
I believe allegedly.
that's a great niche. People love they're fascinated with the prison stuff.
It's apparently so because what we're blowing up. Everybody wants to hear the stories.
Did you ever watch that show? What was it called? Prison Break. You remember that one?
I did. You know, when I was inside, my kids watched the show, and when I got out, my kids said, "Dad, you got to see this." I mean, Prison Break. It's like a dream when you're inside.
I like the first couple seasons, but after that, there was no prison anymore, so it wasn't
100%.
You know,
100%.
They broke out. But then after that,
Exactly.
it wasn't Prison
It
Break.
was interesting for like 2 or 3 seasons. I agree, and then it got a little next.
All right. So, does that make you Schofield? No, it doesn't. That only the people that have seen Prison Break know.
I wish.
Yeah, right. I know that was a very interesting niche program, and then it's funny because that was a hit in the Cuban community. Like,
I'm sure.
the people used to love that TV show. It was huge.
All right, let's go.
All right,
let's talk about my story. What do you think?
So that video we dropped yesterday, that American Greed story, was a hit.
Oh boy, everybody's saying what happened.
So let's start with this. So for those of you that didn't see the video, Ross goes into detail on what happened during the premiere of his episode of American Greed, which is very interesting because he was in prison when the episode aired, if I'm not mistaken.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
And it was actually, let me not even steal his thunder. He'll do an overview of the story, and then I'll get into the questions that some people have been wanting to ask. So go for it.
So I think it was early in 2015. I went into prison September of 14. I had already been through 8 years of investigation, litigation, prosecution, persecution, a trial, a sentencing, an appeal. I mean, this literally went on from November of 2006. I finally stepped into prison September the 10th, 2014. As if that wasn't bad enough. At the beginning of 2015, I get a letter from a production company in Chicago. And it states that they are the producers, their production company of the hit show American Greed. And I'm like, oh boy. As if, the hits kept coming. You know, if there was no such thing as bad luck, I would have had no luck.
And the guys on that show, you don't exactly see them as esteemable.
You know, it's not like...
it's not very reputable.
It's they're not looking to make me look like a good guy.
At least you
star. But they actually did in some respects. I hate to say it.
Right.
They glorified my life in many ways, and I did have quite a fascinating life, and made all kinds of money and achieved all types of status on Wall Street, in my business, etc. In life, I had an incredible family, a wife, beautiful children, I had homes, everything else. But so I called my attorney, and they wanted my input. They asked me to please call them in Chicago, etc. And I spoke to my attorney, and he said, no, under no circumstance. If you've ever seen the show, anytime they have somebody that's behind bars, so to speak, in federal prison, they edit it. They don't give you final cut. They always edit it to sell their agenda.
Right.
A lot of it's true, but a lot of it's complete fabrication, lies, just like my whole case. So to make a long story short, they say that my case was selected as the most, I forget the words they used, but interesting, fascinating, and important cases of the year. And they're producing the show. And they had an email address, so I emailed the guy a few times, and he said, "There's really nothing you can do about it." Like, he went like this to me, on email. And
what you gonna do about it?
What you gonna do, right? And so that's it. I took the note, I put it in my little file in my locker, my little locker that they give you when you're in prison. Your whole life has to fit in like an 18-inch by 5-foot locker. Everything in your life has to fit in this little locker, including all your clothes, all your food.
Makes you realize how little you need to survive.
Well, yes, it makes you realize how silly a 10,000 square foot house is.
Definitely.
I had like 4 of them. So to make a long story short, again, I hate using that line, but it's true. I forgot about it. And then at some point, my attorney says they spoke to the guys and not to worry. Okay. I don't know, maybe a year later, I'm well into my prison stay now. I think it's the beginning of 2016 or the end of 15. I'm in the unit one night. I'm watching TV. I'm sitting in my spot. And over the loudspeaker, Ross Mandell, please come to the lieutenant's office. Ross Mandell, please come to the lieutenant's office now. And everyone's like, ooh. Because when you get called to the lieutenant's office, it's never good. Never. You want the lieutenants not even to know who you are. But obviously, they knew who I was. And typically, you get bad news. You failed the drug test, or you go into the hole, or you got caught doing this, or
that's fun.
doing that. Right. So you only get called when you did something wrong. So I go in, and the LT says, Mandell, how you doing? I said, well, I was doing great.
Until you called me.
Until about 10 minutes ago. And he laughs. He goes, listen, you're not in any trouble. I said, all right, cool. He says, listen, we just got a call from Washington, D.C. I said, uh-oh, maybe they let me go. He said, apparently you're going to be featured on the hit national show, American Greed, tomorrow prime time. I think it was 8 or 9 o'clock prime time. And, the bad news is that everybody in prison watches it. Pretty much nationwide. In the TV room, Friday night, somebody's watching it. It's on the channel. You can't change it. And they said, we have to offer you the opportunity to check into the shoe. I said, excuse me?
Offer me the opportunity?
He said, for your own protection. You didn't do anything wrong. I said, you think I should go into the shoe voluntarily? I mean, I've been called stupid in my day, but that's real. What? I don't get it. They said, well, let's say, you were you're on Wall Street, right? Stockbroking business. Well, if they portray you to be a bad guy, and there might be an inmate that lost his money in the stock market to a broker, or his family lost money, or for all we know, someone that you were dealing with lost money in the market here on the compound, inmates get crazy. They stab, they burn mattresses, they beat the shit out of you, whatever.
Right.
Oh, for your own protection, it's in our playbook, so to speak. That's how they handle things. I said, really? He said, yeah. And he named a guy, a doctor, who was on the compound, funny enough, was in my unit, who was a cancer specialist that was fraudulently doctoring all these cancer tests of his patients so they could bill the insurance company more money.
Jeez. Okay.
And a lot of people died. They say, I've learned that when the government says something, it might be shocking to all of you out there, but not every single thing the government says is 100% true.
Really?
I know it's shocking to everybody, right? There are weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. I never had sex with that woman. I mean, I can give you 1,000.
Don't even get me started.
All right.
Bill Clinton and JFK.
How about distancing 6 feet? This just came out yesterday with Dr. Fauci. What? I didn't say that. What? I don't know where that came from.
Yeah.
Get a vaccine. What? Did I say that? I don't know where that came from. Blame it on the CDC or the NIH. Wasn't me. The guy was on TV every day screaming at us.
It's pretty wild.
So make a long story short.
But the government does not lie to you.
The government never tells a lie. No. And so they said, for your own protection, this cancer doctor checked himself in the shoe. And he was there for a week.
He was on the show.
They did a show about, a year before. And he was very worried because apparently there was some issues on the compound. And he, whether did it on purpose or not, as a result of his sort of fraudulent practices, people got hurt bad. And he was worried. I said, you know what, LT, I'm not going to this show. I didn't do anything wrong. And he says, well, then you got to sign this paper. We just want to say that we offered you a chance in case you get killed tomorrow. CYA, cover your ass. It's the whole country right now. And
Pure Moto, what's up, buddy?
I said, I have nothing to be afraid of. I have nothing to be ashamed of. I'm not guilty of the charges that were brought against me. I'm guilty of plenty, but not of that. And I signed the paper. He says, "You're good to go. Good luck." And so the next day, you know, I'm not terribly anxious, but I'm a little anxious. Prison, you're always anxious about something. You never just chill. It's not like laying on the beach in Miami, or for that much, any beach. You're always on edge a little bit. So I had a little heightened edginess, and
kind of like a spider sense.
It was like around. It was right after count, right after chow, like around 5, 6 o'clock, and there's a knock on my door. It was a knock, and then the door opens. My cell, and it's a guy named Big Joe. Big Joe was a made guy. Made guy.
Okay.
If you're familiar with organized crime,
you're familiar with that
you
terminology.
watch The Sopranos.
There you go.
Well, you read the Valachi papers, and
make your bones.
He was apparently the husband or ex-husband of one of the capos or dons of one of the 5 families in New York.
Okay.
And he was like basically exiled to Florida. Of course, he did something or said something to somebody. Something didn't go well. But he's a big motorcycle guy, and he became sort of the head of the Outlaws motorcycle gang. Don't get on me, Outlaws. I'm not sure if it was you guys, it was the Bloods, the Crips, it was one of the guys, Hell's Angels.
Hell's Angels, or
but
something.
I think it was the Outlaws for some reason. I was a big dude. I mean, 6'3.5", 6'4", 275 to 300 pounds, and he wasn't fat. He was just like
built like a house,
like stone. He was a big boy. Like his hands and his forearm, and I got pretty decent forearms, but his forearms were the size as big as my thighs. Like one of those.
Goliath.
And, sweet guy though, and a very nice guy, especially if he was your friend. And we were friendly. And he says, "Come with me." Big Joe says, "Come with me."
You go with him.
Yeah. It's not like the LT says, "Come." I said, "Why?" You Big Joe, you don't ask why. You just go.
You just go.
And so I follow him out saying, "What the hell is going on?" And I'm thinking, shoe or no shoe? What did I do here? And he takes me into the TV room in the unit. Now, as you know, a TV spot is one of the most treasured spots on the compound.
Very complex.
Most inmates, or many inmates, have nothing after they've been arrested and prosecuted and sentenced and surrendered and finally, sent to their institution, their prison. Many guys have nothing left in this world except what's in their locker, in their cell, and their TV spot. And so I've learned early on in my stay that the TV spot is a valued, treasured possession.
Oh, yeah.
You get this green little lawn chair. Every inmate gets one with a number on it that belongs to you.
Highlighter green.
And you put it out every morning in your spot, and you leave it there all day. And then when it's time to watch TV, you sit in your spot. And you don't even move it an inch to the left or even a half inch to the right or a quarter of inch forward, because everybody knows exactly where the spots are. They have it all figured out. I could never really figure it out. I'm not that kind of a detailed guy about these matters, but to other people, this was like almost life or death, certainly death if you didn't respect it. I am not exaggerating. And he brings me, and I was in the sort of the middle of the pack. I had purchased a spot, and a couple of guys left and got out and said, "Mandell can have this spot." And I had a pretty decent spot in the middle, but all of a sudden Joe takes my chair, and he puts it right up in front of the TV. I mean, the best spot. And he says, "I've decided to move you up and give you the best spot because we know you're going to be featured on TV tonight, right? Capiche?" And I was like, "Yes, that's what I heard, Joe. It's all I can tell you is what I heard. I'm here like you." And all right. And I don't know if it's good or bad. I mean, I'm very happy to have my spot up front. That's brilliant. But when they put the show on, I was there, and the whole place was there. The whole compound was watching. Everybody knows, American Greed is an interesting show. They're only interested in federal cases. They only have, I think, 12 or 13 episodes the whole year.
Big cases.
The biggest of the big cases, the most important cases of the year. And I was the finale of season 9, what they thought was the most interesting, the most important, impactful, etc. And so this is called The Sky's the Limit. I named my firm Sky Capital, brokerage firm. I had a hedge fund, venture capital fund, trading operation, etc. Sky Capital, after the my firstborn daughter. Uh, I honored her with that name, and now the sky's the limit is on, and I watch it, and I'm pretty nervous because now I'm in the front, and I have like 150 inmates behind me, and I don't know what's happening.
Of the manliest men on the planet.
We're talking about, if they're not the most alpha of alpha male, they think they are.
Definitely, 100%.
And it's at first I was thrilled to be up front, and I said, wait a minute.
Oh shit.
Is this like a setup? Because they want to bludgeon me to death.
Yeah, I can't see what's behind me.
The funny thing is we watched the show, and then one of the guys secretly recorded it. That's a whole nother story.
That's
they had smuggled in some sort of chip or whatever. I'm not very technically handy, and they recorded it, and it was all over the compound. And guys were basically saying, "Wow, bro, that's pretty cool." And during the show, they would put something on the TV and say, "Did that really happen? Was that you? Was that your house in Trump Tower? Is that your house?" All these different things. Did you really do that? And I told the truth. I said, "Look, that's true. That happened. I don't even know what they're talking about with this thing. They made up a lot of shit, and there was a lot of nonsense, filler, dramatization, and stuff like that. But a lot of it was based on my life." And they had a Forbes writer named Walt Pavlo who's been following my story for like years and years.
Who was featured on the show.
It was featured. They brought him on the show because he was at my trial every day. He's written 20 stories on me, at least, maybe more. He got to meet my family and everything else, and knew everybody, knew my life. And then they found two guys that were my high school friends, two of my closest friends in the world that I went to high school with, and I ran with, and we partied and grew up together in the 5 towns in Long Island, in Lawrence High School. And this guy Norman and this guy Jeff, both now live in South Florida. Like most people from New York, they get older. We all move down to Florida. And they were telling stories about me, and some of it was flattering because they were my friends. Some of it was a little obnoxious to me. And but all in all, I didn't think it was that terrible story. And afterwards, everybody said, "What'd you do wrong?"
It's funny. As a person who saw it, I thought the same thing at the end. I was like, "What did they say? What the crime was?"
They didn't say what the crime. They parade some guy on who I met like 3 times in my life. Wasn't my client, and I just tried to help make him whole because one of my brokers did the wrong thing by him. The guy worked for me. And the guy never did business at Sky Capital, ever. Never did business with me. He was at a previous firm. I acquired the assets of that firm. But he made a big stink about everything. He was a very rich guy from New Jersey. He had private jets and helicopters and all kinds of stuff. And this particular guy, David Ash, made me, said, look what I did to him, this and that. And his wife died. It was sad and all these.
I remember that guy. I saw the show. Yeah.
I met this guy 3 times. I never did one transaction with him. Not one. He never sued me. In this country, when somebody cheats you, you get sued. I don't have one civil lawsuit. Let me give you an example. The Wolf of Wall Street went to prison for 22 months. He wore a wire. He cooperated. He gave the feds 100 cases, caused indictments to all his friends and coworkers, all the people he recruited into his firm, right? Terrible, right? And he had over 100 lawsuits, 100 arbitrations. I don't have one, not one. Guess what? I didn't cheat anybody. I never stole from anybody. I did business with very wealthy people. Not one client I had sued me. Okay. And, one guy filed a claim, and he admits in the claim, he never met me, never spoke to me, never did business with me. But he felt like one of our stockbrokers robbed him, and he named me because I was the CEO. And I wasn't allowed to defend myself in that arbitration because it was before the criminal trial. And that was considered a wrongdoing by FINRA. They were never supposed to do that because I wasn't allowed to go because I was about to go to criminal trial. I wasn't allowed to go give a deposition and allow myself to be interrogated by a prosecutor.
So back to watching the episode in prison. So you watch it.
I watch it.
You narrate it for the guys.
The guys give me a standing ovation, literally. Slaps on the back. They're giving me food and drinks and coming to me for advice. And I'm teaching classes. And
it's a big deal.
Apparently guys inside prison, when somebody on the compound was on American Greed, everybody in the prison compound knows it. Because guys say, listen, they call up, there's nothing happening in prison. Zero, zilch, nada, zip. You could die of boredom.
It's like high school.
Cool. High school's exciting. I loved high school.
No, I'm saying it's high schoul because everybody gossips and everybody.
Right, because there's nothing else to do. So everyone ran to the phone and ran to email and said, guess what? Ross Mandell, my cell's right next to him, or I'm sitting right next to him, or he's right there.
I eat lunch with him every day. Yeah,
correct.
Whatever.
Correct. I sell him stamps, all these different things. And
everybody knows what's up with the stamps.
And so everybody runs and says, listen, this guy's on TV. It's a big deal. And I've been on TV quite a bit of my life, newspapers, media, all that. So it's not as meaningful to me, but people made an extremely big deal of it. And I took advantage of that because I became a little bit of a prison celebrity. And so when I went from and by the way, I told you they secretly recorded this.
Yeah.
And a couple of times when there were favorable officers on duty, let's say, they would replay it and they would ask me permission. Is it okay if we replay it? And would you mind watching it with us and telling us?
Sure, why not?
And I'm like, let's go.
That must have been super entertaining.
What else am I doing? You know what I mean? What else are we doing in there? So
Ross,
it was interesting.
We got a comment here from Frosty W. Hi, please, more full-length videos on the channel. I can almost never catch the live streams. Make sure you catch the live streams later. They're recorded and they stay on the channel, so you can watch them whenever you like. And don't worry, more full-length videos to come on the YouTube. You guys, you're getting a taste of Ross. They have no idea what's coming.
They have no idea what's coming. That I can promise you that much. Stay tuned because everybody's going to be shocked.
Definitely, 100%.
We're gonna rack them, pack them, and stack them. Watch.
I love it.
It's going to be wild.
So, as a person that knows you personally, right? And I watched, so you kept, it's funny because I only watched American Greed because he kept telling me, watch it, go watch it. And I'm like, all right, I went to watch it, but then I watched it and I said, who is this? This isn't Ross. I mean, there was elements of Ross in there because I know him personally, but for the most part, I was like, this is a load of crap. And again, it was so funny because you know how it's a load of crap because they don't say what you're guilty of. They show you getting arrested in the video of the FBI busting you at your office and all that stuff.
That was all staged.
Where are the charges?
That was all staged.
Oh, don't even get me started.
So let me give you an example of how crazy the world is. Our former president, Donald Trump, and the right now he's leading in every poll, was just.
You see how everybody's saying we're about to elect a convicted felon?
He was just convicted on 34 counts.
Oh, my God.
34 counts.
Don't even get me started.
77 years old. He has a clean record. All of a sudden, he's got 90 counts against him. And they convicted him of 34 counts. All right. As a guy that's been through the system, it's complete horseshit. But I was charged with 2 counts. Only 2. And then when it looked like the 2 were going to get thrown out, they hit me with what they call a superseding indictment. I said, what the hell does that mean? Well, we just came up with 2 new charges. I don't understand. You came up with 2 new charges a year later with no new evidence? Yeah, well, that's how it works. Oh, okay. So you're saying that the justice system is just. Is that what you're trying to say? So they just make up shit as they go along. You know, listen, this is America and this is their home court and they can do what they want. The people in charge, and apparently they seem to be doing just that. And that's what it is. And I'm not here to protest or anything on this vehicle. I did my time. I did 9 years and 4 months. I did it like a man. I didn't cry. I didn't whine. I never made a plea deal. I never tried to make a bargain. I never ratted on anybody. I never wore a wire. None of that. I never said, let's do this. I never gave them a senator. They came and they said, give us a United States senator. Give us a congressman. Give us a member of parliament. I never spoke to anybody in the government, in the prosecutor's office to this day. And I sued the FBI. I sued the SEC. I sued the DOJ. And I'm still working to clear my name fully. So you all know. And, you know, I did my time like a man. And it was brutally tough on me. Probably tougher on my family. And any of you that know. And now they're talking about Donald Trump. And I don't know if the Democrats understand what they've just done.
They just handed him the election.
There are 19 million convicted felons now in this country that are voting for Donald Trump. If they had no interest in voting before, there's 19 million convicted felons in America today. We lead the world in the percentage of incarcerated people against our population. We have less than 5% of the world's population. I'm going to say it again, less than 5% of the world's population. And we have over 25% of the world's incarcerated right now. About 2.5 million inmates in federal, state, county prisons, jails, home confinement, probation, parole, all that shit. The land of the free? I don't think so. Maybe the home of the brave, because you got to be brave to live in this country today.
That's for sure.
But all I'm saying to you is there's 19 million convicted felons that are now going to vote for this other convicted felon. So if they're allowed to vote, if they didn't lose their rights, can you imagine? This is what goes on. But there are 19 million families of convicted felons. So the whole thing is a shit show. And the world's laughing, in my opinion. And we've made a mockery of the system. And, you know, back in the day when I was accused, when they raided my shop and my bank, my brokerage firm, and I was CEO of 2 public companies, you just didn't do that. They had no evidence. There was no crime. They went on a fishing expedition. They had bad information. And then once they make that mistake, they never go back and say, we're sorry. No, it doesn't work that way. Not. Because they lose their jobs, they lose their budgets, etc. So, and I said, what? This is crazy. This is lawfare. And everybody said, the government doesn't do that. The Department of Justice doesn't do that.
The government
in
doesn't
New York,
no.
In New York, the courts would never go for that. Okay.
Speaking of the stockbroker days, now this is a great segue for you, ladies and gentlemen. I got a treat for you. So you've told me a great story a couple times about you and a gentleman that has come to be known as the Wolf of Wall Street. If anybody remembers Margot Robbie's character, her name was Naomi in the movie, but her real name is Nadine. Okay. So Ross actually is going to tell a story now that I really enjoy. I enjoy it so much. I've heard it like 6 times. I enjoy it every time I hear it. You were there the night Nadine and
I don't want to go into some names because I don't want to open a door for some people that have been always very nice to me and good to me. So I just say like this. I was seeing a woman.
Okay.
That woman was very, very good friends with Jordan Belfort.
Okay.
Okay. She was friends with him for years. She was a very successful, well-to-do woman, recently divorced from a very successful guy. People that everybody in New York knew. So I want to keep names out of it. And we were getting together one night, and she said, I'm bringing a girlfriend. I hope you don't mind. Because she had been trying to introduce me to a guy named Jordy Belfort, who was the founder and the CEO of Stratton Oakmont. And funny enough, a childhood friend of mine from Lawrence High School, Danny Porsche, who's the Jonah Hill character in the movie. Danny, what's up, baby? And great guy. I could only say the greatest things about Danny. And by the way, he's much better looking in real life and much cooler than Jonah Hill was in the movie. But Jonah Hill killed it. I think he made the movie. He was so great.
He was a wild character.
So it was a great Martin Scorsese. That's why he's such a brilliant director, right?
The best.
And Jordy wanted to meet me. And so this woman I was seeing thought she was making a great little pairing of me and Jordy, because I was a big balls to the wall stockbroker, very successful. And Stratton at the time was sort of on the come up. And they were about to do the Steve Madden deal with Steve Madden's another one of my high school friends. We all went to Lawrence High School, the class of 1975. Stevie, what's up? Big shoe guy, the best. Great guys. I never had a problem with any of these guys. We were all good friends. And my friend Jordy Shamma, who right now is actually in bed. He's really sick. Jordy, I hope you're okay. Everybody, he's got a GoFundMe page right now on Facebook. Send him some money.
God bless.
He had a really bad health scare, terrible stuff. He was also with Stratton, Brian Frank, all the guys from my class of 75. And she was bringing me to meet Jordy that night. But she had another agenda as well. She knew a girl, she told me, a lingerie model who she wanted to introduce to Geordie. And that night, we were at a place called Ciao Bella on 2nd Avenue. And I met Geordie for the first time. We had dinner and hung out for a couple hours. And we introduced Geordie to Nadine, who is so greatly portrayed as the Duchess of Bay Ridge. And she's still a beautiful woman. I saw her on advertising a book signing recently in Boca Raton. I was following her on Instagram or one of the shows, one of the social media sites that my boy runs for me. But so that's the story. It's a true story. And they came back and made me an offer. And I had recently
Stratton made you an offer?
Yes, through the president.
Okay.
Yes. And it was a very, very big offer.
Okay. All right.
6 figures a month guaranteed, limo back and forth to work because it's a reverse commute. I was living in the city. They were out on Long Island and North Shore. And I had just gotten sober. I had gone, as my story is pretty much out there. I'd done a 28-day program in the Silver Hill Foundation in New Canaan, Connecticut. I was a real sort of garbage head. I was taking a lot of different drugs, drinking, all that kind of thing. And I decided to change my life. October the 11th, 1990, a friend drove me up to Connecticut. I stayed 28 days. I got clean. I got sober. I'm in the program, AA, 12 steps, NA, all these different things, going to meetings, 1, 2, at least every day. And they made me a very fat offer. And at the time, I needed money. At the time, I was about $500,000 in debt. And I had $1 million plus in debt. I paid off $500,000 because I'm very clever in the stock market. I'm very successful in the business. I get it. I can play with anybody at that level. And they were offering me all kinds of money. I would have been instant liquidity, no debt, just living life. But I shared, at the time I was in therapy and I had a sponsor in the program. And I went to my therapist and I went to my sponsor. They both said the same thing. Did you get clean to go live that life? At the time I had cash register honesty, meaning, cash register honesty of like, if you buy something for $5 and the guy gives you the wrong change, even if you're 10 miles away, you drive back and you say, you overpaid me a quarter.
Right.
It's like an extreme form of honesty, integrity, all that stuff. And I was living my life like that for a very long time. And I really could have used the money.
I can imagine $500,000 in debt.
But I'd already paid $500. I mean, think about that. I never went bankrupt or anything like that. I settled all my debts, and then I became a very, very successful and wealthy guy, sober, clean, clear, etc. And my story is obviously coming. It's going to be out there. Everyone's going to see it. But
the legend of Ross Mandell would have been very different if you accepted that offer.
Well, man, you never know. I would have got out of prison earlier. I probably would have had to go to prison later on. I'm just saying, I don't know. It's life is funny. God gives you, there's I studied the Kabbalah while I was in prison. The Kabbalah, everyone knows Kabbalah, but they don't know it's based on the 24 books of the Zohar. Each book of the Zohar is about 1,100 pages.
Wow.
And it's written in Hebrew, in a different language, and English. It comes in 3 languages, each page. And it says that every single day of your life, God gives you 2 choices. Every day of your life, and one leads to a blessing and one leads to a judgment. One choice leads to a blessing and one choice leads to a judgment. And every single day, every living thing on earth has an opportunity to choose. And that's where they talk about, the freedom of choice. God gave us a freedom to choose, good or evil, black or white, plus or minus. So that particular day, I think I made the right decision. You never know how life would be otherwise.
Who knows?
Yeah. So true story.
Well, that does it for...
What else you got for me?
Well, actually, before we go, there's one last thing I did want to talk about.
Uh-oh. I hope the can of worms.
So, we've covered your first day in prison. right?
Oh,
We talked about, you know, how you came in and, put your shit down and put your papers on the table. We talked about all that stuff. Now let's talk about your second day in prison.
I got a great story because this is crazy.
Get ready for this.
So, they put me in the cell. The guys make me take a walk. They read my paperwork. They welcome me back in. They say, how do you steal 140 million without a gun? And we posted that. And then we had counts, my first count. And what you guys don't know, so the federal system is systemized nationwide. There's 122 federal prisons in this country.
Mm.
And every day at 4:00, there's a count. Every prison conducts a count, goes into a system, and they count every federal prisoner in every institution in the United States. And on the weekends and the holidays, it's 10 in the morning, 4 in the afternoon. Then there's another count at 10 at night. And count time, you go back to your bunk or your cell. You're locked in, you're locked down, and the officers walk around, and you shut the fuck up. And if you sneeze so much as sneeze or fart or make a noise, they claim you're interfering with the count, to the shoe, a shot, problems, etc. A disciplinary action is a shot. So to make a long story short, I'm really, it's my first few minutes in prison. I'm thinking, I got 12-year sentence. What?
It's gonna be a crazy 10 years.
It's my first fucking day, my first fucking night. I was so whacked out because of the anxiety going in, and I sick. I had a virus when I went in, and that night I slept dead. I wake up the next day, and we go to chow, and they serve some stale cereal. And meanwhile, my stomach's closed. I can't eat. I'm not feeling great. And my cellie, Mike Brown, says, "Bro, you are lucky." I said, "Lucky?" He says, "Yeah, your first day in prison, the first full day in prison, it's chicken day." And my other cellie, "Yeah, it's chicken day." Like, wow. And I'm like,
all right.
What does that mean? What is chicken day? He goes, "What is chicken day? We're getting chicken today." I said, "Oh, is that like a big deal? Like, I'm a multimillionaire. I'm living I'm eating the finest foods and the finest restaurants prepared by the finest chefs in the world.
And now we got chicken day.
And a chicken day." So what people don't know is in the federal system, there's a national menu, a nationwide menu. And so let's just talk lunch. So Monday is usually like pizza or hot dogs. Tuesday is fried fish. You get a fried fish sandwich. It's just terrible. If you can chew it, you're halfway home. If right. Then Wednesday is hamburger day. First time I bit a hamburger, there was a piece of cheese on it. I bit in, and the cheese was still in the wrapper. And one told me you got to undo the hamburger and take the cheese out. The hamburger is like literally like a joke. It's like a joke.
It's like the size of a quarter.
And that's Wednesday. Thursday is chicken day. It's the only day of the week where every inmate shows up at chow. It's really the only meal. And I'm like, but I don't get it. They're all so excited, and there's like a buzz on the compound every chicken day. Every Thursday is a buzz. Everybody shows up. Most of the time, with half, at most 2/3 people go to chow. At most people cook their own food. They have commissary, all kinds of shenanigans that go on. I'll share later on. But in this day, it's chicken day. So everybody's excited. I'm like half dead. I'm like in a coma. I can't believe that, all the best decisions in my life led me to this moment.
Federal prison.
I'm in Miami prison going to the chow hall for chicken day. And if I tell you, the whole place is buzzing. And I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? You follow the crowd, hanging out with my two cellies, Mike and Henry. Fellas, we're shaking. I told you one day I'd be calling you out. And get online. There's chow hall. You get a tray, get some silverware, and you go up to this thing, and you got some sort of unpleasant looking fellow. He's an inmate, and there's cops watching, and he takes a tongue in this grease-filled pit and pulls out a soggy piece of chicken. It's not a chicken. It's like a third of a piece. It's a quarter of a chicken. I don't know what it is. It's a leg and it's not a breast. It's the thigh. It's
you really don't know what it is.
It's pathetic. It's the skin's hanging off. It's soaked in oil, and he slops it down in this plate. Then he scoops up some mashed potatoes that could be used as mortar to lay bricks, right? And then some soggy green canned vegetable, literally. And they hand you a tray. And they're like, "Oh, chicken eye. Oh, Rossi, you got a good piece." And I'm like, what the fuck are these guys talking about? I never saw a more pathetic looking piece of disgusting chip. If I was in a restaurant, I would give it back.
It's insane.
I think my dogs wouldn't eat it. It was really like the lowest level.
It's pretty bad.
It's like level 4 food. And almost all the food in prison, in federal prison, is past expiration date. They buy expiring date food, but then they store it. And somehow they're allowed to do this, and it's not a hazard. And once in a while, there's a lawsuit, and guys die, and there's all kinds of outbreaks.
Those fish squares, those fried fish squares, one of the boxes say not for human consumption.
Not for you. And I broke a tooth on one, just so you know.
My God.
And then I had half a tooth for half a year, because it takes a half a year to see a dentist. But to make a long story short, the chicken was pathetic. I was pathetic. The whole situation was really scary. And I'm looking at this chicken, and I'm trying to eat the mashed potatoes, which are chewy. You ever have chewy mashed potatoes? Powdered potatoes that not enough water or just sitting around. And so I said, Mike, would you like my piece of chicken? Oh yeah, they scoff it right up. Bro, you're like a delicacy. You're like a god. And here's the terrible part of the story. The terrible part of the story is, for the next week, I ate about nothing. That's how bad the food is. And I look forward to Chicken Day for the next 9 years and 4 months. And when I could, I bought chicken off on the black market there, because that's how bad the rest of the week is.
It's harsh.
So it's harsh. It's brutal. Stay out of prison. Don't get indicted. Make a deal. Cry like a baby. And don't go through what I went through. But for the rest of my stay, I look forward to Chicken Day. And that was the one lunch I didn't miss, because really it's the best thing you get all week. It's that scary.
You do got to say this. There's some guys who know how to cook pretty good in there, though.
There are some amazing cooks. And we're going to talk about mofongo. We're going to talk about stingers. And we're going to talk about the microwaves and the cheesecakes and Freshest Pizza and all the different things.
Gio's cheesecakes? Oh, my God.
Gio, wherever you are, Gio, you poor thing. He's still inside.
Poor guy.
But, there's all kinds of amazing prison chefs, and you'd just be stunned what guys are capable of doing when
they have nothing.
They say necessity is the mother of invention.
Oh, yeah.
Never has an adage ever been proven so true
100%
as the food situation in jail.
For sure.
In prison. That's all today, folks.
That's it. We're wrapping up just at about the 45-minute mark. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Got some more prison stories, some Wall Street broker stories, all that stuff. As promised, we're going to come back next week. We got more for you. Stay tuned. Subscribe to the channel. Make sure you like this video. Comment below. Let us know what you think. Tag your friends if you want them to see the episode. We'll see you next week.
Show me some love, everybody. Come on, I'm pouring my heart out. Let's do this the right way. We'll see you next week.